everybody, and welcome to Defeatist. It is a new show where we debate things relating to Pokemon, and we have no idea how it's going to end, actually. We have no idea if it's going to be a deadlocked, we don't have a victor, or if someone's going to absolutely get crushed.
Yeah.
You said that you wanted to crush me?
I wanted to crush you.
Yes. Why do you want to crush me so bad? Because this episode of the debate show, Defeatist, is on whether or not Gen 6 sucks.
Which it doesn't.
Which I think it does. Let's let the recording start. So we recorded this a bit, and now we're going to play it for you. I hope you all enjoy the podcast. And here is the first episode of Defeatist.
Hope you enjoy.
Yes. And, yeah. So let's talk about Defeatist.
All right.
Defeatist is a new podcast coming up where it is, and I made this podcast, I made the idea for Defeatist way before Deadlock was a thing, so I'm not copying Deadlock. I just wanted to get that out there, but it's kind of like Deadlock. It's a debate show. And the original idea, what we were going to do was we were going to talk about how I think that Gen 1 sucks, and you think that Gen 1 is amazing.
I love all of the gens, even Gen 5.
But here's the thing, and I would debate you on that too. Gen 5 is amazing in terms of...
In terms of story and little else.
Well, I mean, Black, White 2 were amazing in terms of the Pokemon that you could catch.
Well, yeah, but those were all old Pokemon. As far as the Pokemon designs...
But it was very gutsy to make an entire generation with only Pokemon from that generation.
Oh, no, it was.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing it, and I like the design. I don't want to sound like a Gen 1er and say I hate the design.
But here's the thing. We were going to do Gen 1 versus Gen 1 sucks. But, we found out that we disagree on something else.
Something else that I can
Gen
destroy
6,
him in.
If you include the remakes in Gen 6 is the best generation. But if you don't include the remakes in Gen 6, it is shit.
No, it's not.
It is great the first time you play it, and then you realize, oh god, this game is a circle.
No.
With no support for its legendaries, and just a lot of stuff that could have been great, but they just left it.
I admit that the story was probably the weakest out of all the Pokemon
like,
stories.
even Gen 1, which didn't have a story at all, I would take that over Gen 6. Because Gen 6's real story was amazing. They didn't support it at all.
What it lacks for in story, which was admittedly very disappointing, it makes up for in...
You just like the Kanto starters.
I do like the Kanto starters.
You just like the Kanto starters.
But I mean fairy types. Just the way that changed
there
the
are
metagame.
8 fairy types.
They introduced more, like, they rewrote the old
There's
types.
only 2 fairy type moves. Moonblast and Play Rough.
And Dazzling Gleam.
Oh yeah, and Dazzling Gleam.
And a few others, but I mean, those are my favorites.
Like, most of the fairy type moves in competitive are normal type moves from Pixelate. So, really, fairy type is pretty one-dimensional.
Also, we have Sylveon. I think
Sylveon's
Sylveon
so
alone should make this gen a great gen.
But you remember when we all thought Sylveon was evil? It still is.
No, it's not.
Remember the ribbons it'll kill you with?
I remember.
Remember the comic with the explosion with the time bomb and the light screen?
I do, actually. I am ashamed to say this. When Sylveon first came out, I thought it was a flying type.
I thought it was a ghost type.
No.
It has soulless eyes!
No, those were the eyes of love.
Those eyes are soulless. Okay, can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever lost to a fairy tale child?
No, I haven't.
You know what they say?
I crushed them.
They say...
The bugs they are.
They say very excited things like, yay. Or they say, aw, I want to play with you some more. Or, time to go to Fairyland, etc., etc. They are possessed multi-hundred-year-old children that take people to Fairyland, and they kill them there.
You clearly have not been to the Lavender Tower in the first gen.
No. You want to know something? You want to know something? Gen 6 taught me that ghosts are much better than fairies. Because ghosts are nice.
Have you been to Lavender Tower? Have you been, like, attacked by Marowak's ghost? Have you
Who's
seen
protecting their child? A fairy would attack you just to attack you.
Have you seen what were they called? The channelers that were, like, possessed and they wanted your blood?
I think that's a side effect, really.
A side effect.
Okay, the Hex Maniacs in Gen Gen 6. You look at them and you think, oh, these are going to be the bad ones, and the fairy tale kids are going to be the good ones. Other way around. Every single Hex Maniac is either faking it to try fit in, or they're totally neutral and they don't actually hurt you. They're only a little crazy. Or they help you.
Only a little crazy.
No fairy type kid or anyone helps you in the entire game.
Because they're kids.
They're not kids. They're hundreds of years olds. They're possessed
What
by
do you
fairies.
have to support this, canonically?
I can pull up responses from fairy type trainers that you lose to. Here.
I think possessed children are a great plot point.
They are over 100 years old, and they're fairies. They've been possessed so long that they're not even kids anymore.
You have no way to prove this.
What are their trainer names?
I think it was like Fairy Tale Kid or something. Just type in Fairy Tale Kid Pokemon. Y in all caps.
Oh, I accidentally had a caps lock on.
I mean, look, she's so cute.
Look at that one, though. That's evil.
She's like a little Lolita.
Oh, here we go. Nightmare Fuel. Pokemon TV tropes is always a great place to go to.
Let's see. Oh, Nightmare Fuel. Oh, I love TV tropes.
Yes, TV tropes is amazing.
I've been lost on here for hours. It's bad.
Okay, here we go. I'm straight reading from tvtropes.org. The Fairy Tale Girls. Full stop. While some have adorable lines, they are generally adorable themselves. Several of them reach creepiness that you wouldn't expect a child to achieve. In fact, they seem downright possessed in some cases, saying that the fairies have been whispering to them, telling them to do things, and you could find them around areas associated with ghosts and hauntings. All those ghost hauntings were actually fairies. And one states she's old enough to be your mother, hinting that these girls are far from natural. The fairy tale girls also do not have normal human eyes. They lack any pupils, and their eyes are constantly glistening, even seeming to have heart-shaped designs. They share this trait with Valor, the only character who seems to share their strange tendencies. They're most commonly seen in the company of Hex Maniacs. These girls are normal for the most part, except the ones with fairy tale girls who seem lost in their own mind. Fairy tale girl. My dear cuties whisper all kinds of secrets to me. Fairy tale girl. Oh, phooey, don't you ever come back. And if you do, we're going to end you, okay? Fairy tale girl again. Tee-hee-hee-hee. I can hear them. The fairies are whispering to me. Fight, win. That's what they say. Hee-hee-hee. Fairy tale girl. Final. Shh. Rest now and close your eyes. You won't ever need open them again.
It's creepy.
That's straight up demonic.
Maybe she just...
Say into the mic? What was that?
Maybe they just don't understand what they're saying. They think they're being cute, and they can't comprehend that that's really creepy.
Okay. Let's see what else is here.
They're misunderstood.
Laver Cities, Hexamaniacs, and Creepy Forests. Its gym is based on Dollhouse, chock full of fairy type users. Come back. What even says that he calls you a doll like everyone else? Taking into account their demeanor and somewhat mature-looking faces, it's possible that at least some of them are little people rather than children, and that they're intentionally affecting an exaggerated childish facade for whatever reason motivates them.
Oh, God.
They come off a little bit more disturbed as a result. It is all but confirmed one of the fairy tale girls says outright that she's old enough to be your mother.
She's simply from a visual novel. Have you ever played those things? The mothers look like they're in high school.
I don't think this is... Another one on Route 6 claims her mother dresses the same way she does. While it was probably intended to be funny, it contributes to the theory that fairy tale girls are adults with issues of some kind. It's been confirmed that Hex Maniacs and fairy tale girls, though that's really just an act, are very likely all trainer classes in all games, such as psychics, are all just playing the role of that of their trainer class. It is still possible that some fairy tale girls have some kind of mental problem, but for most are just playing their chosen role. They could as well be fairies, masquerading as humans, even possessing children. The kid isn't older than you, but the fairy is. And they're always on routes with either ghosts on them or fairies on them. You want to know what my theory is? Is that the fairies and the ghosts are having a war and the ghosts are losing.
Well, fairy types, they're stats.
Okay, listen. Fairy tale girls are always in these this is straight up red card. I love it, but I mean it's technically part of the Defeatist. But the fairy tale girls, they are always in ghost areas or paired up with ghosts. And as I said, the ghost trainers look like they're losing a few screws in the presence of their sister. And there are never fairy types in ghost-like areas like the forest around Lavere, but there are always fairy-type girls. They send in the girls into the ghost areas, defeat all the other trainers, enslave the hex maniacs, and then they send in the fairies. That's why Lavere City is in the middle of a ghost area, because they took over a ghost city and replaced it with a fairy city, and it's a war, and the fairies are winning, and that's bad. Ghost trainers are nice, fairy trainers are evil.
But all of your proof stems from TV tropes, which is great as it is.
No, this is straight up from the games.
A canon source. This is their interpretation of the games.
These are quotes. And do you remember fighting the duos, the sister duos?
Yes.
The Hex Maniac is always a little empty. Like they're kind of losing a few screws from... And all the other ones are fine. But, like, Hex Maniacs being crazy, you can tell. These ones aren't crazy. These ones are distracted. Being converted into fairy-type girls. I'm calling it.
I still think that the Chandlers in Gen 1 are far more disturbing.
And I think that Gen 1 isn't canon.
No. Okay, you cannot make that claim.
Gen 1 has so many things that were taken out in later games. Victory Bell. And all the other names of spelling. Okay? You want to know why it's called Thunder Punch? Because they couldn't fit Lightning Punch. You want to know why the Pokedex are all terrible and stupid and shit? Because they didn't realize that the Pokedex would be taken as a canon source.
Stupid. I think that a
it
lot
talks
of them are
about
really
the Eiffel Tower, and we know that there's no Eiffel Tower in this game.
Lumio City!
No, it's called Prism Tower. They get it straight up wrong. Gen 1 has all these references to the real world that are straight up not canon.
That makes it bad? I mean, theories change over a while. They didn't know it was going to explode the way it did.
Exactly. That's why we should say that Gen 1 is no longer canon, because it just doesn't make any sense.
It is canon. It was just retconned in a few areas, like a lot of long-running shows
and when it gets retconned,
series.
then it's correction. It's a correctional retcon to remove what they fucked up.
Well, then it's still canon.
No, because it got removed. It's edited. It has been corrected.
Then it's a retcon, which is different from claiming that something is not canon.
It literally cannot exist in the same plane as the others. It can be canon in its own universe, but it is not canon with ORAS. Or Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire, for that matter.
It's not canon with ORAS, you could argue, because of the Delta episode, but it definitely takes place in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Those are remakes.
Yes, but they fixed things. They fixed a bunch of Pokedex entries and stuff.
So you're gonna argue that Gold and Silver aren't canon either because of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where like all the same things are basically fixed?
No, because here's the thing. I think that on each system, it's a different it's a different timeline. I think that Gold and I think that stuff like, well, I mean, Gold and Silver are like, they're good.
A lot of people argue that they're the best games.
Yes, they're the best games before Heart Gold, Soul Silver, which are the best games. I think I kind of got lost in myself for a bit. Let's just return to Gen 6. Gen 6 was terrible.
No, it wasn't.
It was a circle. You can admit that it was a circle, right?
I mean, it was simple, but isn't that just because we're like
circle.
17 now?
No. What? Why would they make it simpler for us?
Well, I mean, we're not really the target audience anymore.
We're
the majority of the people who play it, but that doesn't mean we're the target.
The target audience for the first game was kids. Target audience for the next games is kids and teens and adults, young adults, right?
Yeah.
So, if by your logic, the first game, which you think are amazing, would have a circle. The map for the first game was fucking insane. That was a maze.
Well, I think in general, Nintendo is kind of, I'm not just saying this because I'm older, kind of dumbed down their games. In the new Mario game, supposedly, if you wait too long to like finish the level, it just gives you a leaf that finishes the level for you. I mean, I haven't played it, but that's what I've heard.
Yoshi's New Island has the easy mode.
I feel like it's less a reflection of Pokemon and more of Nintendo, just dumbing down its games in general.
But here's the thing. The first forest in the game being an exact copy of the Viridian Forest. You pass by in the first gym town you see Victory Road next to the town that you can't go to yet. You get Kanto starters. The entire game is built to just attract people in who like Gen 1. It's to attract old players back into the game cycle.
But Mega Evolution. I mean, that could Gen 1ers could say that that's like destroying the purity of their precious Beedrills or whatever.
Listen, the Pokemon search system was the best thing to ever happen. PSS is the best thing to ever happen to Pokemon.
I love the PSS.
In terms of, yeah, all that stuff. In terms of competitive Pokemon, battling online, and everything. It's amazing. But I'm talking about I'm not talking about Kalos. I'm talking about the execution of Kalos. Kalos is an amazing region. But it was executed terribly. Because they're going to come out with Gen 7, and they're not going to release Heatmore and anything like that. They're not going to release them. You know how there's
Where'd you get that idea, though? I mean, they released Dianthe.
But what event was associated with Diancie?
The movie?
No, in terms of in-game, when you take a Diancie to an NPC, what happens?
I don't know because I missed that event, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think there'd be something, though, because you can change its form, so you'd probably need an NPC to do that.
Change its form?
You didn't know
Diancie,
that?
not Hoopa.
No, you can change Diancie's form.
To what?
There's like a dancing form of it. Oh, no, wait, that's Meloetta.
Yeah, Meloetta.
Sorry.
Yeah. There's no event for Diancie.
There's its Megastone. Does it come with that?
Probably.
Let's look it up.
Just go right here.
Here?
Yeah.
All right. You have the keyboard.
Let me just rush for team most of the swampy for tombstone, see all over the place, and there's a haunted house. Rangers telling you to accompany Sean's reaction to the story, helps lighten things up. Nightmare return because of his playground. Jungle Gym. Yeah, that playground right before the ghost area, that was pretty disturbing.
That was creepy.
That was creepier than the forest itself.
You know what was really creepy?
What?
That guy and that weird story that was never explained.
No, because that was fake, because the guy just wanted to take your money.
Well, I was assuming that it would, like, come into play somewhere else, but it never did.
That's another situation of how Gen 6 totally half-asses everything.
I do admit there was a lot of things that we don't know about it, like...
Because there's nothing to explain. Okay.
Did you hear about the Ghost Girl controversy?
Yeah, I stumbled into her, and that was amazing.
I thought that maybe they still might go and explain it.
There's one in every
future.
game since Gen 4.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gen 5 had her on the bridge. And in the
Yeah, but they
house.
connected to his story.
Yeah, I think that this one is... Okay, here's why Gen 6 is terrible.
We're overlooking.
Yeah, but there's nothing to overlook because all of these stuff that we want to make theories about, there's no substance because it's half-assed. Okay? The legendaries could have had a story, but they're not having any story. When you hack a Heatmore into the game, or a Volcanion into the game, and then take it to the person, they give you a, 5-sentence story about what it probably is or whatever. You know how there's all that talk about the catacombs under the city?
Mm-hmm.
There's no in-game data for that. You know how Hoopa? When you hack a Hoopa into the game, there's no story about it. All these things were abandoned halfway through the game's development.
Maybe there's a reason for that, though, because, everything in the game was so amazing, maybe they just didn't have time to put all that in. Because I admit there are a bunch of things that I was hoping they would expand upon in, a DLC or something.
I'm going to use my metaphor that I used earlier. Imagine if, playing Black and White 2, you always heard about how they were using the energies of Pokemon to power their big freezing machine. And you never heard about Kyurem once. And it was just that they were using Pokemon as energy to do this. Hoopa?
Dianthe.
And then you get onto the ship, and then you find Kyurem just sitting there. Imagine if the entire game nobody told you anything about Kyurem, and that was something else. That is what the legendaries were like in Kalos. You always heard about how they're using the power of the souls of dead Pokemon, or the shit, to power this super weapon. And then you find this legendary just sitting there in a cocoon. It's just like, well, nobody told me about this thing.
Let's see. Dianthe does have another form.
Hold up.
That's Mega Evolution.
I gotta find... Oh, this is why I like, Bulbapedia.
Okay. No, that was...
Okay, now go to the Bulbapedia article. It'll tell you.
I feel like an idiot for getting Diancie and Meletta like screwed up. They're completely different.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of stuff in Gen 6 that's kind of left out in terms of it could have been something, but it wasn't. Like, even imagine if the whole thing about, you know how Gen 4 had the whole story about Heat-Run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gen 4 was fantastic. I mean, I'd say Gen 4 was better than Gen 6.
Yeah, but imagine if you went up to the volcano and you found Heatmore in there, and the only story you heard about Heatmore after you caught Heatmore was, oh yeah, that's Heatmore. He's pretty cool. And nobody talked about Heatmore all the way through it. Imagine Stark Mountain. Nobody talked about Stark Mountain. And then you caught Heatmore, who was in Stark Mountain, and then there's nothing.
You can't compare Heatran and Heatmore, though, because...
Heatran. I meant to say Heatran.
Yeah, you can't compare them, because Heatmore is an event Pokemon. Heatran you can catch in-game.
No, Volcanion. Volcanion.
Oh.
I'm saying Volcanion probably was going to be a very poignant part of the story, like Heatran. They took out they didn't put any story in about him. When you hack one into the game, there's nothing there. The game's legendaries just don't do anything.
Well, I mean, Shaman was kind of the same deal. If I remember, it took forever to get to that stupid island. You walk down this endless path of flowers, and then it's just there.
Well, Doc, no, because Professor Oak came about, which was a big fucking deal. Professor Oak comes out of nowhere. Like, freaking Zygarde. There was nothing about Zygarde.
That was depressing.
There's nothing about Zygarde.
It was just there because we expected it to be.
Yeah. There was nothing about Zygarde. Gen 6 is so hollow. It's hollow like the eyes of every fairy type.
Nobody is denying that has a terrible story.
Go to Volcanion.
But everything else
There's nothing about
great.
Volcanion. Oh, another thing. Purple Flower Floette. Floette. Remember how everyone got the Purple Flower Floette and then there was just nothing?
I mean,
there's nothing.
It's like
they could have had
Pokemon. I mean,
they could have had a whole storyline where you go back in time, like in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, where they had a segment where you go back in time and you find a shiny-eared Pichu or whatever, and you go through a backstory where you learn about where Giovanni went. They could have done that where you go back in time and talk with AZ and find his Floette or something and catch it, but they didn't. You just get the Floette and then nothing.
I know that the storyline kind of sucks. They kind of just
It's not that it sucks. The storyline is great, but it's hollow. There was all this there.
It does. I mean, they don't really expand, like you say. They just kind of do.
If all these legends were out of the game, I would have loved Gen 6 better, because it's like if someone gives you an ice cream cone with a little bit of ice cream in it that's just melted. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, cool, free ice cream cone. You eat it, you don't even notice the ice cream. But if someone says, I had a tub of amazing rainbow sherbet ice cream, and I didn't give it to you because, and then doesn't tell you why, you're like, fuck you, I want the ice cream. I want the ice cream. Give me the ice cream. Why don't I have the ice cream? You could have put the ice cream in there. I see you holding the scooper in your hand. Why didn't you put the ice cream in my cone? If you didn't know that the ice cream was there, it'd be fine. But we hacked the game, and we found out that they were there. And we were just like, what is this? You know, that little bit of ice cream in there? It's like, when you notice that halfway through eating the cone, you're like, what's this? Was there... You held up an ice cream thing over this and it dripped down in here? Is that what this is? Is this the drippings of a giant tub of amazing plot?
That is literally the best thing I've ever heard.
Thank you. Do you admit that Gen 6 is a cheat? You have been cheated?
Never denied that the storyline and the legendaries and how they handled all of that was a cheat.
They cheated us.
But it was a lot of fun.
What was fun about it?
Just like, I love the 3D, just how it was made.
What was fun about it other than the Kanto things?
When you caught a Pikachu, it went Pikachu.
there is nothing Kalosian about that game that is great, other than like the freaking professor, which everyone forgot about once ORAS came out.
I never forgot about Sycamore.
Everyone else forgot about Sycamore.
No.
There's no fan art about Sycamore anymore. He's old news.
No, he's not.
You're like the last person that still likes Sycamore.
I'm the last Sycamore fangirl.
What else? Diantha. Totally, like, everyone debated, no, she's good. No, I think Diantha's great. I think that the fact that you have a champion who comes out fucking nowhere, who is a pleasant surprise, is great. I think that's much better than someone obviously being the champion, and then you're there, and then it's just
No, I knew she was the champion from the start.
I did not know.
I saw her, and I'm like, oh, that clothing.
I thought she was going to be, like, you know how, like, imagine if you walked into Pokestar Studios in Gen 5, and you saw this fancy person in a big dress. You'd think, oh, that's a Pokestar Studios character. And then you leave. That's what I thought about Diantha. I thought she was just like, oh yeah. And I was too busy with my Nuzlocke to realize anything with that story. So when I got to the end of the game, I was just like, okay, this is the end. This is the game. It was my last ever time I did a Nuzlocke, not a Schema-Run, like all the way to the end. So it was the last time I ever did a champion battle with lives on the line. And then I got up there and was just like, this could be terrifying. Who's going to be a champion? I have no idea. I walk into the room. I'm like, okay, fairy type. I start talking with her. And it's not until she realizes that I realize. And it goes from this epic air of the room to just like, yo, it's awesome. It's up. Whoa, how have you been? Oh, let's have a good fight. Like, I have the audio clip somewhere of me realizing it's Diantha. And the audio clip is just pure, oh my god, hi.
Seriously, I knew. It was so obvious.
Keep talking.
Oh, I'm out of things to say.
You just knew it was so obvious?
It was just obvious. I mean, what more is there to say? I just saw her, and I saw, like, her outfit, and I'm like, that gaudy design represents all of Gen 6 so perfectly. I also like the ability to customize your character. I know it was kind of a small thing,
that was amazing. But we got cheated because the men got cheated. We had no clothing options.
You didn't? We had like everything.
I know because I did Y version as a girl, and I saw and I realized that it was that ice cream cone again, where men got the cone and the women got the filling, and it was amazing. And I bought everything, and it was awesome.
Well, I don't think that the guy characters really cared about customizing their characters as much as the female.
We would have if we could. You know we would have. You know how hard the guys tried to be fashionable?
That's true.
Have you seen the guys' designs? They rock what they have. And the sad part is, all they have is like, by the way, this red flannel shirt is in X and Y, and it's amazing, and I wore it for a while. It was awesome. But I had one design. I had like 2 outfits the entire game. With my female character, I had a new outfit practically every 2 times I played. I had probably 12 outfits depicting her storyline. You remember?
What was her name?
Alia.
Yeah.
Alia.
It's like random, did you say?
Yeah, random in French. Alia. And I had a new outfit for every time her character developed. I didn't get a chance to do that with the main character.
I did something like that too. Every time I go into the Elite Four, I wear the little black dress, and I'm just like, yes. What I'm really depressed about is that the clothes...
Hold up. Did you make a, like, not very fancy outfit for going through Victory Road? So you did you make, like, a badass hiking outfit for climbing Victory Road?
No, I had, like, my standard clothes, and then I had, like, my I'm going in for a special battle clothes.
I had, like short... nothing like going crazy, like skin tight kind of clothing to like climb up through a mountain, and then after I got there, I flew away and I put on like my badass champion outfit. But for Victory Road, like I just went like black and just like scuba gear practically to like climb up the mountain. It was awesome.
I'm just depressed that the clothes in
She
Lavier
basically looked
City
like a
don't
battle
exist
girl.
in real life.
Look, in normal DNC, like the little bit that's sticking out the side, it's just like quit trying to hide it. or like it cracked open or something. Actually, that looks a bit disturbing.
It does kind of.
Oh, maybe she's like holding the dress in under like rocks, and she's just like pretending to be a rock type, but she actually isn't.
I don't know. You'd have to watch the movie.
Yeah, have you?
I have it. I just haven't watched it.
Oh wow, we should watch it.
We should.
Well, actually, I don't know if I could handle that much Ash. I haven't seen
That
Ash.
much Ash.
I haven't seen Ash in anything for probably like 3 years.
He's he's better than he was in the Gen 5 anime. Maybe the
Is he?
reason that I like dislike Gen 5 isn't because of the games, but because the anime was just so bad.
And I guess the reason why I dislike Gen 6 so much is just because of Legends. I think we learned something today.
We did.
We don't actually hate Gen 6. We just hate the way it was executed. And you don't actually hate Gen 5. You just hate the way it was executed.
I hate Iris and Cylon. Iris was a great character in the games too, and they just butchered her in the show. And don't get me going.
I think we've actually. I thought that Defeatist was gonna end like Deadlock, where it's just like, well, we don't. What do you think? But I think we actually came to a conclusion here.
We did.
That we're both right, and Gen 6 doesn't suck. Gen 5 doesn't suck.
Aspects of it did.
Nintendo sucks.
Yeah.
Nintendo sucks. Game Freak is great.
Oh,
Game
definitely.
Freak probably had the whole story, but they got rushed, I bet. We have a Sonic 06 situation right here.
We do. Well, but nowhere near as severe.
Nowhere near severe. Hello, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Defeatist. It took a bit long to get out. I had to edit about 4 podcasts at once because we did a whole bunch of videos with Professor Bushy, who you'll see in the upcoming podcasts. But yeah, the Defeatist is a new show that we're doing, and I really only started it for this one thing, the Gen 1 does it suck, does it not suck, which became the Gen 6 does it suck, does it not suck. But because the conclusion we just came to, and the whole ice cream metaphor, I don't think that we'll be able to do a generation versus generation sucks kind of thing anymore. So a lot of ideas just got crammed down the toilet. So if you guys have any ideas on stuff you want to debate, tell me. And if you are someone who is in contact with me or would like to get in contact with me, you can even come on here and debate it yourself. As for logos, if you don't like the logos on the upcoming few videos, it's because they're a bit rushed. Because I had to get all these videos out. So if you have any comments about the art, tell me. Sorry for the lack of editing in this one in terms of like images and the upcoming podcasts. That's just because it's been a cram week. I really wanted to get more content out. Speaking of content, as soon as I get these 4 podcasts uploaded, the Rando Red run is coming. My randomized paired coma run of a randomized black version. Fuck. Rando Red black version, along with the Storm run and the Dream Schema-Runs. But yeah, goodbye everybody, and get ready for a shit ton of podcasts. So much editing.